Next, I'll demonstrate the timeline and config components, two powerful tools I built to manage our game's progression and parameters. The timeline is a visual representation of Firebase Remote Config experiment branches. Here you can see we have three different variants, A, B, and Dev, all connected to remote config variables. What makes this tool valuable is that it lets us make changes here and then observe how these changes affect metrics in Firebase Analytics like retention or app uninstalls. You can start a new experiment or load existing ones. When loading, you'll see previous configurations along with their date ranges. The real power comes from being able to add key events at specific points in the timeline. For example, I can visually indicate when tutorials are introduced, like for hints, scanner, or timer features, or when interstitial ads begin appearing. We can also mark when quests and daily challenges become available. Another important setting is Guaranteed Star, which I've set here until level 52, meaning players are guaranteed to pass these levels. What makes this better than standard Firebase Remote Config is that it's a much more visual and game-specific UI designed specifically for our A/B tests. I've added usability features like workspace zooming so you can clearly see what happens at each point in the player's journey. When an experiment branch performs well, you can load it and apply those settings again, or copy it to a different track using these branch copy buttons. This timeline is actually a visual interface for our broader configuration tool, which contains not just timeline settings but many other game parameters. In the config section, settings can be single values like numbers or booleans, or they can be arrays that change over levels, which are represented as graphs. At the top, you can see the remote config branch names and their distribution ratios. This lets us control what percentage of players experience each variant. If we want to adjust the game's economy, we can easily modify values like starting coin balance across all branches. I have implemented category filters in a search function to quickly find related settings. For example, if I search for hints, the system shows all hint-related parameters that we can modify across all configuration branches. This combination of timeline and config gives us precise control over the player experience while maintaining the flexibility needed for effective A/B testing.